All right, kind of like I always say, make sure that you start off just in general at this stage, going through the basics. Meaning, we have how many financial statements do we have? We have how many? 4. Okay, now I need those in the proper order. What are the list of financial statements in the proper order? The first one is what? Income statement, followed by the retained earnings statement, followed by, and we're going to end up with, now which one will we not focus on this semester? It's cash flows. Okay, you'll do that in managerial accounting, all right? Now, well, I told you I thought about something. The way you attack any problem is in life, whatever, is from the beginning. So, if you got the wrong answer, don't feel bad. Chances are, you did what you wanted to do at first, which is go in and kind of say, hey, buildings is asset, accounts receivable is asset, and you did all that, right? But what you didn't probably do was to say, let's start with the income statement, okay? So let's start with the income statement first. What did you get for your answer for the income statement? If you did it, what did you come up with for the income statement? By the way, we're using just the book now, not the Wiley, not the Wiley online, because those numbers may vary a little bit. So what did you come up with for your income? We'll go through it piece by piece though. Got close? That's okay, I'll tell you what. Let's just start. What's a basic income statement consist of? What is a basic? Revenues minus expenses, okay? So when we look at our revenues, how many sets of revenues do we have? We have 2 sets of revenues, okay? The first one is called what? Service revenue. How much is the service revenue for? How much? 14,700. Is that all you have there for that one? 14,700. Okay, good. What is the other type of revenue that we have? I'm looking at 2-5, right? Okay, is that it? You sure? All right, well, let's go to expenses. What are all of our expenses given to me? Insurance, okay. Depreciation. Interest. Okay, what are my amounts there?
Insurance expense is 780.
780? Okay.
Depreciation is 5,000. Yeah, 5,300.
5,300, okay.
And interest expense is
2,600. All right. My net income would be how much after all of that?
including service.
Including my service, because I have to remember my income is always revenues minus expenses, okay? So what do I have there?
23,380.
23,380.
380.
Okay, now, just a little tip. Sometimes in accounting, it's kind of, you see these numbers, they all look the same. When you're subtracting it, a lot of times in accounting, you'll see these parentheses around it. So maybe that'll kind of help you to start differentiating between what you do and don't do, because otherwise you'll be putting minus signs. And the reason we all set them is so you can kind of tell what all is a sum total. Sometimes you may see in your textbook, everything here is sum, that's fine. But as long as you come up with 23,380, and that's the correct answer, then that's what I'm looking for. Okay, yes ma'am?
Is it, so it's revenues minus expenses?
Revenues minus expenses, yeah.
Did we start off with 14,700?
We did.
So how'd you get to
How did you get?
You added all of them.
Oh, okay. See, what you do though is you take these and subtract them from here. You see what I'm saying? Your question was, do I include service revenue?
Mm-hmm.
The answer is yes, but remember it has to be 14,000 minus my expenses. Easy mistake to make. I'll let you kind of make them in here, to keep going. Easy mistake to make. So the correct answer should be what? 6,020, 6020, correct? And they'll get, I'll talk about that in a second, 2060. When you have multiple choice tests, what they'll do is they'll put those kind of things on there. Okay, so you kind of get used to what you're looking for. Like she knew that some just has to be a little bit less at least. And so she would have known not to choose one of those. Now, Another choice, answer choice would probably be something just way off. So, you know, you kind of just ignore that. But what I'm saying is each of your multiple choice questions is always going to come down to two answers, really. And right here, the only thing wrong with that is they added. This here was a subtraction, okay? When I started putting that around there, I was hoping that it was kind of a, you know, a memory jogger, but that's okay. All right? Yes, sir?
I got 6029.
You got 6020? Okay, I wrote that incorrect. Should be 6020. 6020, okay?
And this is a what statement?
Income statement. The very first one. So sometimes it's one of those things, if you have something, let's say you didn't have any revenues and expenses, just at least right now tell yourself income statement comes first so that you can always remember to do that first, all right? And if there's nothing there, you keep on going. Now, the reason I know we have to do that first is I kind of knew when we got to the balance sheet that it wasn't there, but that was just me kind of knowing. But just assume that the balance sheet is not going to have everything, okay? Everything meaning retained earnings. Just kind of get that in your mind so that when you see these accounts, you'll make those adjustments, okay? Now, with my income, what do I say that I do with my income? I can take my income and either spend it on expenses or do what with it? Retain it in the business, which means that my second financial statement needs to be the what? Retained earnings statement, okay? What is the basic format for my statement of retained earnings? I start with my what? Huh? We're going to get there. Beginning retained earnings. Okay, now, just a tip. If this is year one of the business, my beginning retained earnings will be what? If it's the first year? Zero. But we've gone through a whole cycle, so my beginning retained earnings will be what? Is it listed in here? $40,000. Good. Okay. Now, this retained earnings statement has two adjustments. What are those adjustments? I add my income, okay? Okay, and you'll get used to putting in your thing as less. So I'm going to say less, but you're perfectly okay for what you said. Less dividends, okay? Do I have any dividends? Do I have any income? No dividends, right? But I do have income. How much income do I have? 6,020, all right? So I'm going to add my 6,020, and in the end, I'll have ending retained earnings of how much? $46,020, okay? Now, yes.
How do you know you don't have any dividends?
All right. What we do is we just kind of went, the other day what we did, we just kind of went through this problem here, and just said, hey, what do I have? This is an income, this is an asset, this is a liability. So when you went through your problem, you had to say what it was. Then, when it comes time to plug in stuff, if we have, we plug it in. If we don't, we don't use it. And dividends is an expense or not an expense? It's not an expense. Dividends are not an expense. Make sure you remember that, okay? Dividends are not an expense for two reasons. Number one, you could very well have the type of question. Dividends are an expense. But then there could be a situation where you know it's going to reduce something and it doesn't fall into the balance sheet and you may accidentally put it up here. So remember, dividends are not an expense and you always have to have retained earnings to pay them. Okay? Now, in terms of real life, if you own stock or whatever, a company never has to pay dividends. But if you start paying them, you might want to keep on paying them because it just won't feel right if every day you come here, I give you $1. Then I don't give you $1 that one day. You might even look for the $1, but something just ain't right if I don't have $1 to give it to you, right? So that's the same thing with the dividends.
What are dividends? Do they do with stocks?
Ma'am?
Do dividends have
Yeah.
to do with stocks?
Yeah, they have to do with stocks. What you have, just in general, if you invest in stock, there are three major categories. And I'll give them to you in numbers first, then kind of what they mean. You can own anywhere from 0 to about 20%, a little bit less than 20%, okay? Then you can own from 20% to less than 50%, like 49%. Then, you everything over that. Now, what does that mean? If you own 0 to 20%, basically you have no influence. meaning that you own it. And owning stock means I own a part of the company, right? So if I own it and I don't have any influence, all that's saying is that, say I vote to have no exams this year, right? And he says no. Now he's an equal owner of everyone in this class, about 37 people. All right. If he says no, that's good, but that's not a big amount of vote. But what if, say, he by himself own 40%? That's a big vote, right? Now the rest of you, at least 41%, you have to come together. So you go from having no influence to having a little bit more influence, which is called, just slipped my mind, significant influence, okay? And of course, if you own more than 50%, then that means you have control, you own a company. Now, what does it have to do with dividends? If you don't have any significant influence, then basically dividends is what you receive as a payment. I look at it, and don't get me wrong, because I don't have any control over anything. But basically, I look at that as someone just throwing you a bone. Here's a dividend. Here's a dividend. Go on somewhere. See what I'm saying? But with significant influence, that means I got a little control, right? Which means that when I decide to pay dividends, the company pays dividends. Or when the company pays dividends, I pay a little bit of dividends. It also means that when you have an income, a net increase, that you're making money. So you get a little bit of part of that kind of increases your shares or your ownership percentage. So dividends is on the smallest level. I know that took a lot, but that's if you're accounting major or finance major, or if you just want to invest in something, just kind of remember, dividends, that's your smallest level. But hey, dividends are good. Yes, sir.
You said I just got a question.
Sure.
Income statement, you said service minus revenue?
Revenues minus expenses minus revenues. Yes, sir. Revenues minus expenses.
Okay.
All right.
So, what is service? Does that fall under?
Yeah. Okay. Well, service revenue. Basically, what you have, just talk about revenues. You have two different types of revenues in general: service revenues and then merchandise revenues. Service revenues is stuff like you can actually say, "I'm doing you a service by teaching." Okay. Now, you can say that I'm fixing your car, I'm cutting your hair, I'm mowing your grass, doing those are service things. When you think of wholesale, you think of selling goods or selling stuff. So service revenue is going to fall on that because that's just one of the two types of revenues that we'll study in this class. Or mostly just in any of your classes, okay? You can break those down to a lot of different categories, but in general you have service revenue and you also have revenue from merchandising operations, like a Walmart or Dollar General, Kroger, anybody. The car dealership, they sell cars, okay? So now that I finished all of that, I can move towards preparing my what? My balance sheet. Now remember, I've prepared my balance sheet in order of what? Assets minus liabilities, stockholders' equity, in order of liquidity. Let me erase this right here. All right. Assets equal liabilities. Please put the plus there because it's an easy mistake to think of something different, okay? Revenues, assets equal liabilities plus equity. Now,